This is News Guardian. With Greg Aldridge and Chip Tarbutton on WFJX Fox Radio 910.
Good morning. We reached Friday.
Yes, and we're back together again. The original News Guardians are here together in the spacious and lovely Fox Radio studio for another exciting day of News Guardians action. And as usual, we have lots to talk about.
It'd have to be spacious. We're 2/5 of a basketball team in height in here.
Yeah, see, we're both big fellows. So if you're looking for a political team that could also be your front court in a basketball team, we are your...
Too much running in basketball.
Yeah,
I ain't playing basketball.
If it's half court, we have a fighting chance. So,
all right,
we want to talk about today, Greg.
Oh my gosh, we got so much to talk about today, and that's the case every day. But no, this time I really mean it. I swear. There's just so Kathleen Sebelius, the workhorse for Obamacare, has announced she's going to leave, and we actually had a run-in with Kathleen Sebelius.
Well, almost a run-in with her.
We're gonna tell you about
literally.
That. Yeah, literally. Less than 2 years ago in Washington D.C. at the
Washington Press Club.
Yeah, Washington Press Club, and we'll tell you that story. It's a doozy. Also, there's a march plan. Did you know this, Chip? Have you heard about this? Did you know about this?
I've heard about it. A couple of the members of the Roanoke Tea Party have talked to me about that.
There's evidently going to be millions, once again, marching on Washington, trying to force the government to do what the Constitution requires it to do.
Well, I've always been... I've personally attended some of these rallies. And I've swore to myself I would never go back to another one because I just feel like they're kind of a waste of time. But one thing I've noticed about these is that every time they occur, they're never presented in a fair or accurate way.
No, the regular media lies about what's happening, why it's happening, who's there, how many are there, and
I have a story about that too.
We're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. This story is blowing up our website. We haven't had a chance to talk about it on the air. We'll do that today. But the headline on newsguardians.com, if you go there and read it, is "Why Does Homeland Security Constantly Sit Outside Our Window?" And sitting at my desk downtown, there's giant windows down there, and I started to notice that a Homeland Security SUV would stay parked outside there with someone in it. I don't mean like they parked it and went somewhere, like this was a parking space for Homeland Security vehicles. I mean Homeland Security officers in the vehicle parked 30 feet from my chair, right through a giant window, right on the street, just sitting there. And if you don't believe me, check out the photo, and we're going to talk about what that's all about. And back in the news, as usual, the Roanoke Times is full of it.
That was probably my favorite story from yesterday.
Was the Roanoke Times' big lie of the day?
Yes, the whole you don't care about the anybody that's not supportive of Ray Ferris, David Trankel, and Bill Pespich's plans for downtown.
Well, it's not just plans for
their spending habits.
Yeah.
It's always amazing how what parts of the story they put in and what parts of the story they leave out.
What parts of the story they just absolutely fabricate, including the headline, which we'll talk about. We'll do all of that. You got 30-second sports for us today, or we got too much to talk about? Oh, you do? All right. So
I always talk 30 seconds about sports.
But let's start off talking about the Homeland Security vehicle that stays parked for some reason with agents outside my window. Now, I finally put the picture up yesterday with just a little ditty on the website about what's going on and what I think about it. But first of all, what are they guarding? Why are there Homeland Security vehicles?
There are some federal buildings in downtown Roanoke, so it could be keeping an eye on those things, I suppose.
And why do you need armed SUVs tooling around town to have security at a building? I mean, if that's your justification, there are federal buildings in every little town all across the country. I mean, there's post offices everywhere you turn Why all of a sudden?
Don't you want to be safe, Greg? Don't you want to be safe? You know there's people that want to blow you up. And they're just keeping you safe.
Yes, and I'm starting to think that maybe it's
Greg. They're here, your friends.
I'm starting to think that maybe it's these agents that want to blow me up, not some terrorist, planted in our country. Why are these guys staring at me 25 feet away from my chair and for an inordinate amount of time?
I'm sure that rancher out in Nevada thinks the federal government is more of a threat to him than an Arab terrorist is right now.
Big time.
I mean, I didn't see Al-Qaeda members coming and tasing his neighbors and his friends, or creating a non-constitutional zone of not free speech. And I didn't see the Al-Qaeda doing any of that stuff to him, but in the name of protection of people, they're doing all sorts of things.
Well, that is the protection of the desert tortoise. Evidently,
so the desert tortoise has more rights than we do now.
Yes.
Well, that makes me feel better. I feel safer now, don't you?
No, because I've got Homeland Security surveilling me 25 feet from my chair at my desk. Now, all I can figure is that our willingness to tell the stories of what our government's doing to us, and my inability to tell it in a calm and completely rational, soothing way, because it gets me kind of irritated to have our government tyrannizing in this way. All I can figure is that we've raised the interest of government because we're talking about it, and we're shedding light on its misdeeds and its tyrannical behavior.
Well,
and
I don't know if that's the case.
Do you think really Homeland Security was created to protect us, the homeland, or do you think maybe it was created to protect the government?
Well, they've got all day driving around that SUV. I mean, it's not like there's a ton of bad things happening in the daylight for Homeland Security to take care of.
Exactly. So why are we spending the money having these guys tool around?
Don't you want to be safe, Greg?
Yes. And that's why I'm armed, and that's why I teach family and friends.
You're the problem, Greg, because you armed people and your guns are creating.
Do I have to come across this board and take your glasses off?
I'm just giving you the
jack you.
It doesn't really. I mean, regardless of what they're looking at, whether it's us or a combination of us and keeping an eye on other things, is there really a need to have, I don't know how many people are in the vehicles. I'll say 2. Maybe there's 2 people in that SUV because the windows are tinted, if memory serves me correctly.
Yeah, and they look more tinted than the law allows. So,
well, the
government,
they're there to protect you, Greg.
My windows can't be tinted more than 15% or whatever it is, but they can have the 50% tint on their windows.
But be that as it may,
do
we really need? How much is that costing the taxpayer to have that Homeland Security SUV drive around downtown Roanoke?
My guns can only fire 10 bullets. Theirs are allowed to fire 50 bullets at a rate of 60 per second. My boat is only allowed to go so fast and is not allowed to have anything mounted.
Do you have a boat in downtown Roanoke?
No, I'm just saying it's the double standard. We have flipped everything completely upside down, where the government is armed to the teeth against its citizens, and the citizens are nearly helpless. And that is not the way things were meant to be, and that's not healthy for a civilization. It is not healthy for a civilization to be at the mercy of the weapons of its rulers. What's healthy for a civilization is for the rulers to be at the mercy of the weapons of the citizens. And that's not the way it is.
Don't you want to be safe, Greg?
Yes, I absolutely want to be safe. And that is why we're supposed to have a well-educated, well-trained, well-armed citizenry and a weak, submissive government.
Wow.
And we'll be right back on News Guardians, Fox Radio 910.
News Guardians on Fox Radio 910.
And we are back.
All right, you going to put me on the clock for 30 seconds?
On the clock for 30 seconds. About the time it would take me to walk out of my office across the street and find out why in the world Homeland Security is staring at me through my window.
Okay, we're done with that story now.
All right, you ready?
Sure.
We're not done with that story because today's another day.
They might be back.
And yeah, and now that I've talked about it, there'll probably be 2. All right, let me get to
or maybe not
to a timer here. All right, are you ready?
Sure.
You want me to say go? How's this work?
Let's go. Sorry.
Go.
All right. The Masters continues. First round. It's interesting to watch, but the first round leader never wins a tournament, so you'll have a better sense of who's going to win or has a chance to win by Saturday, by halfway through the day. But it's a beautiful day in Augusta, Georgia. The golf is good. If you like golf, it's what's on TV this weekend. NBA playoffs start this weekend. There's the last game of the regular season. It matters is the Miami Heat against the Pacers. Should be a good game tonight. Watch the Masters if you like sports. That's your sports on Fox Radio 910.
30 seconds. Very nice. I have to say, from the brief time I spent viewing footage from the Masters yesterday, who chooses the color coordination for these golfers?
There are some ugly-looking outfits, I have to say.
I mean, there was some greenish-yellow color that one guy was wearing that we didn't even know what
we had an active debate about what the actual color was, but, I mean, basically... there's like 117 versions of beige. But these guys are like
pink,
puce, and I mean, it was just some ugly stuff. But we need to talk about your computer or your wife's computer.
Yeah. So the guys over at Brambleton Computer came to my aid. Now we've been over there, in and out of there, and seen them taking care of customers, but the fateful day came when I had an issue. And here's what it is that News Guardian Elizabeth, she has a concern about security issues on her laptop. So she got a subscription to the virus protection that was offered as a special deal when you buy the computer. The computer places. We didn't get this computer from Brambleton Computer. They weren't even open yet, so we didn't know. At any rate, they put ads on your computer. So when you turn it on the first time, there's already ads there trying to sell you this service and that service. One of those things was a virus protection, and I'm trying to think of what the name of it was. Maybe it's better I don't, so I don't get sued. But Avast.
Okay.
And so she decided to sign up for their annual subscription. I think it was like $30 to have updates and for it to protect her computer. Well, she was paying for something online the other day, and everything went kind of wacky. And then all of a sudden, the computer, like the Windows virus protection that wasn't being used, and the Avast were fighting with each other, and she couldn't get online. And we thought, she's picked up a virus or some sort, malware or something on there. Could not get it to work. So we took it down to Brambleton Computer, and believe it or not, it was simple. It was easy, and evidently, and this is why Brambleton Computer is so much better than even the tech people that you can get on the phone from your own virus protection company. They wanted to charge $119 to fix a problem that she was already paying $30 a year to prevent. But they said, no, this is something else that doesn't have anything to do with us. We want $120. So, no, took it to Brambleton Computer.
How much they charge you?
$50 does it. Dude,
there you go. I knew the answer to that before you said it.
Unless you've physically broken something, a part, $50 does it. So I can now say I have taken advantage of the expertise and customer service knowledge of his team of technicians at Brambleton.
And if you have a computer problem, you should too.
You should too, especially if you need to upgrade and get rid of that XP now that they're not going to support it anymore. Brambleton
They have a
Computer.
good deal on that as well.
All right, so we promised we were going to tell people about our run-in with Kathleen Sebelius.
Yes. So we had an event at the Washington Press Club a couple years ago. It was early 2012 or late in 2011?
It would have been in October of 2012.
Okay. So
what we were there for was a press conference. That
would have been October 2011 because it was before the... No, you're right.
2012.
You're right.
October 2012, we were there for Bishop Jackson's press conference about his Exodus project, calling Christians out of the Democrat Party. And our thing was like in the afternoon. But evidently,
In the press club, for those, it's basically a place where they have press conferences in Washington, and you've probably seen it on TV because it's where a lot of the movers and shakers have press events.
Yeah, they do. I mean, you see it a lot on television because a lot of DC press events happen at this place. It's like the oldest. It's the oldest place for that
there's set up in a bunch of different rooms, big and small, where you can have press events. So there's press events going on for 100 different things, from the government through activist groups of all stripes and all political persuasions.
So that particular day, evidently, the Department of Health and Human Services was doing another one of these press conferences about some wonderful thing
that Obamacare was going to bring to the American people.
Yeah, and Kathleen Sebelius was there giving this presentation, and I did peek in the room. I didn't know what all was going on because we had our own work to do. I just peeked in to see because it was packed. The thing was absolutely packed, and she was up there talking, and they had all these things on the boards, and I didn't really pay much attention to it. Didn't know, and honestly, to be quite honest, I had not paid all that much attention to even know who Kathleen Sebelius was or what she looked like. Had no idea. I was completely oblivious to her. So
we're standing out in the hallway waiting to try and get our event going because they're in the same space that basically we're going to be in. And it breaks up, and then Kathleen Sebelius, with 2 different bodyguards, come barging out of the room. And let me say, she's not the most pleasant acting person, and she has that same demeanor in real life. But they came almost at a run out of the room, and Greg was completely oblivious to this and almost came within about an inch of colliding with Kathleen Sebelius, and the body car kind of nudged you out of the way.
Yeah, and I mean, I had no idea I was even in anybody's way. I mean, I'm contrary to my radio demeanor, I'm actually a pretty polite person.
Yeah, so and the funny part about it was, as I said, we almost had an accident with Kathleen Sebelius, and the first thing, who's she? Because Greg, honestly, before we started doing this radio show, Greg would almost never look at the news because he gets so mad at what was going on, he'd throw things at it, which... Not that that's a big surprise if you listen to him on the radio when we talk about these news stories.
It's just so amusing that I came within an inch of knocking Kathleen Sebelius on her butt.
If you had known now, which you know now about Kathleen Sebelius, you might have taken the opportunity to give her.
I might have stepped just a little slower and made sure I was in just the right place so that I could accidentally knock her on her butt.
You could have. I'm sure there's people out in the audience that would have paid good money to see you body check Kathleen Sebelius to the ground by accident. Well, I'm sorry.
Now, but seriously, honestly, the whole thing, that whole encounter was an accident. And had I just been like 1 second behind where I was, I would have knocked her down.
I mean, it was literally.
She's a tiny lady. I'm a big guy. Now, here's the question: would I have ended up like arrested? For
assaulting Kathleen?
Yeah, for assaulting her and having no idea I even did it or who she was.
On second, and no one would have believed that you didn't know who she was.
Okay. You're right. There is no way I would have ever been able to.
Because I was astounded that Greg didn't know who she was at the time. But then I realized that, Greg is purposely puts himself in the cocoon sometimes to get away from some of the madness that is the news.
But just so the listeners know, for you out there, I've re-engaged in what's going on in the news to my own health detriment. I've re-engaged
for your blood pressure
for you all, so that I can talk about this stuff because it's important.
But I know for those who don't like Kathleen Sebelius, Greg did have the opportunity to get arrested for assaulting her if he had just taken a step slower.
Wow. So. In case you're wondering, our press conference went off smashingly that day. We had a packed room. It was great. And we got not only a lot of publicity for the Exodus Project, the video that I made for Bishop Jackson that went onto YouTube is up to 1.5 million views.
That's very good.
It has gone viral. So, hey,
it was worth it. It was worth it.
I may not have knocked Kathleen Sebelius on her butt, but I've got a 1.5 million viewed viral video on YouTube. Go, Greg.
Do you want to? Is that your pat on the back? Is that your excuse for not knocking over Kathleen Sebelius?
If I had to choose between the two, I would have much rather.
We should do a poll on our website about would you rather have a 1.5 million view YouTube video or knock down Kathleen Sebelius. I have a feeling the Kathleen Sebelius thing might win.
I'd kind of like to find out. We need to get we should add that feature to the website so that we can have the listeners weigh in on stuff, because I think it would be not only interesting for us, but I think for the audience and the readers to know where they're at on certain things. We'll see if we can get that done in the near future.
Is that music I hear?
That's the music you hear. If you'd like to get that done in the near future, donating to News Guardians would help, because what we've discovered is that every little thing we do here costs money. There's just, what is it that Chef says? Freedom isn't free?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. When we come back, we're gonna talk about the Roanoke Times just blatantly lying about the Roanoke City Council election. And after that, we're going to talk about the millions that are supposedly going to march on Washington. That's just a month away, May 16th.
And signs. Everywhere there's signs.
Signs. I'm Greg. He's Chip. We're the News Guardians. This is Fox Radio 910.
This is News Guardian. With Greg Aldridge and Chip Tarbutton on WFJX Fox Radio 910.
Nice.
So who is this segment brought to us by?
This segment is brought to you by Bent Mountain Bistro. Everything's better on the mountain. And the weather's supposed to be beautiful this weekend, in the 70s and mostly sunny. And that means it is the perfect time to take a drive up the mountain or a drive up the parkway and visit the Bent Mountain Bistro.
The scenery is beautiful. The food is fantastic. And I mean, literally fantastic. Not just like good, I mean, fantastic.
Yeah, if you go to their Facebook page, and they're just under Bent Mountain Bistro on Facebook, by this evening they should have, or this afternoon, they should have the specials for the weekend posted. Typically, they've had some sort of amazing steak as a special every weekend, whether it's the ribeye or New York strip. It doesn't matter. It's awesome. They cook it on a wood-fired grill right out next to their smoke shack. And now, in this smoke shack, it's not just a tiny little, rickety wooden building. This thing is a monument to slow cooking pork.
Does it have a plaque?
No, but it should have a plaque. It deserves a plaque more so than all this crap that they've built in downtown Roanoke as monuments to our city council members. But Bent Mountain Bistro, wow. I don't know what else to say except wow. Wow. You finally got to experience it last
tell you,
weekend.
I live about as far away from the Bent Mountain Bistro as you can and still be considered in the Roanoke Valley, and I will tell you that it was worth every second I spent in the car to get there.
Yep, they've got a brick oven. They bake all their own fresh breads in the brick oven. They brick oven pizza, slow cooked pit barbecue.
I was like, what do you want to eat? I'm like, I don't know, because I want like this, that, and the other. Because I was watching the people next to me eat a variety of food, and it all looked so good. I was like, I don't know what I want. But check it out, Bent Mountain Bistro. Everything's better
on the mountain, no doubt. So. We touched there for just a second on monuments to our city council members.
And our city council, they've on record as saying that who wouldn't want to be on the city council because everything is so great in Roanoke City.
Everything is awesome. Everything is great when you're part of a team. Everything. Yeah, who wouldn't want to be? I personally, nobody would want to be a part of city council because everything's so great. They'd want to be a part of city council to fix the mess that these idiots have made.
But according to the Roanoke Times, everything is awesome.
No, yeah, and according to the Roanoke Times, the three Republican candidates, Roger Maloof, Jim Garrett, Hank Benson, are complaining that downtown's too nice. That's what the headline.
I don't recall, and I'm very plugged into that campaign, and
That's right. And for sake of open and honesty, because the News Guardians are all about full disclosure, we are trying to tell these three men how to win city council races.
Right, so we want them to win.
We want them to win. We are giving them advice on how to win, and so we're not going to pretend that we don't know anything about this. We absolutely know something about it, and we're trying to tell them how to pull this off, because we want to see them beat the living daylights out of Trinkle and Best Pitch and Ferris.
So, being plugged into the campaign, I can assure you that I've never one time seen a piece of literature, the words come out of a candidate's mouth that Roanoke City downtown is too nice. I've never seen that said.
So here's what the Roanoke Times said. The headline yesterday: "Our view, downtown is too nice." Really? No, nobody said that, you liars.
I mean, that's the headline of the story. Now, I'll say that the reporters that are reporting on this are like, well, it isn't really there's a conflict between, building of Roanoke's downtown area and the neighborhoods. And that's how they see this, and then that's how they present that point of view from their editorial board.
And this is what they say. 3 incumbents seeking re-election can point to a long list of accomplishments by a city council that is anything but do nothing. Oh, no, they've done all kinds of stuff. They've blown money right and left as if Roanoke is rich. They've done stuff. The problem is that what they've done hasn't been to the benefit of the taxpayers and the residents of the city. It's been to the benefit of their legacy, building what I'll say is an amazing-looking amphitheater. But they had to borrow $8 million to do it, all the while for a decade, ignoring the fact that we have serious problems in the storm drain system that they didn't do anything about.
That amphitheater will be small solace when there's 2 feet of water in downtown Roanoke this summer if there's a giant rainstorm.
Now, here's the funny thing: is the Roanoke Times disclosing that they want to see Best Pitch Ferris and Trinkle win? That they're actually actively working for them in their reporting? They won't tell you that truth.
They have a line in there. Well, they're not perfect, or something to that effect.
No, they won't admit to you that they are gaming the system in Roanoke to help them win. That they are reporting from a perspective and a bias to help the incumbents win. Roanoke Times won't tell you that. Chip and I will tell you. We want to see the other 3 guys win. And we're trying to tell them what to do to win because we want to see them win. We're not going to lie to you or pretend. And there is absolutely bias. We are biased against those 3 incumbents because of the destruction they have wrought on the budget and the people and the citizens of Roanoke City.
Because Roanoke City's budget's, give or take, about $250 million. And how much do they owe now? 350, roughly. A little less than 50. A little less than 350.
Yeah, and once you throw the money they're going to have to borrow for the storm drains on top of that, we're going to be at $450 million.
And they're saying $50 million to fix it. So
it'll be
you and I know, and all of our listeners know, that an estimate up front of how much it's going to cost to do something, you might as well just double it because it's probably going to be double what they say.
This is the city council that spent $800,000 not fixing the Elm Avenue Bridge, just studying it. And how many studies did we do of the bridge? To the tune of over $1 million. They're just studying.
And of course, the stormwater thing is only happening now because they've been forced to by the state.
Yeah, they don't have a choice. But this problem, contrary to what you're going to be told, probably by the Roanoke Times and other media, and especially the incumbents from Roanoke City Council, Trinkle, Best Pitch, and Ferris, this stormwater drain thing didn't just happen last year. It didn't just happen the year before that. It has been going on for over a decade, and they have been ignoring it. Their entire tenure in Roanoke City Council, they have done nothing. While they put a green roof on top of the Noel C. Taylor building, while they've twice redone the Market building, while they have built this monstrosity in Elmwood Park, which was a perfectly functional and pretty park that we held events in and loved very much. While they did all of that, they did nothing about the looming problem that was actually their responsibility. It's not their responsibility to build an amphitheater in a park. It is their responsibility to make sure the storm drains are working properly.
But Sheryl Crow's coming to town now.
And I'm sure that matters a lot to the 75% of the school children in Roanoke City that can't afford lunch.
So, but they talk about a false narrative that we have to choose that somehow the downtown area shouldn't be nice. And again, I'd like for the Roanoke Times to produce a story or a comment where somebody said Roanoke City downtown shouldn't be nice. Of course it should be nice. But so should all the other parks that they don't maintain.
Yeah, how about Jackson Park? We held an event there. They won't They won't spend the $100 it takes just to mow the grass up there.
There's other neighborhoods that have parks where there's like, they have grand plans for what they're going to do to the park, but they'll wipe out the baseball field as part of the plan, and it'll sit there for a year because they don't have the funding to do the rest of the project.
Now, my favorite was when they purposefully did not do the maintenance and upkeep on Victory Stadium so that they could claim that it had structural and physical problems, and when people would look at it, it would look ugly, and they would believe the lie that there was actually something wrong so that they could get support to tear it down. And even after all of that, they still didn't get overwhelming support from the city residents to tear down Victory Stadium, but they did it anyway.
Well, it doesn't really matter what people think. I think 12% of the people wanted a new amphitheater, but they built the amphitheater anyway because they know better what you need than you do. So again, you have a choice on May 6th. You can keep the same people in Roanoke City Council that'll put you $350 million in debt with a lot more to come, and have lied and invaded neighborhoods and lied. I mean, the Roanoke Times basically said they're perfectly fine with the city council lying to the people in the Huff Lane neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
They just said, well, yeah, there was good reasons. It was a tough decision, but they had to do it because of the money they could have gotten.
If you don't live in that area, you may not know how all that went down. But the people that live over there off the side of Valley View in the Huff Lane area, when all that development was going on, they were promised that that would be it. The development would stay on the other side of Valley View Boulevard, and their neighborhoods would be protected if they just go away and shut up and leave them alone on all the development in the Valley View area. So that promise was broken. And the three men we're talking about, Best Pitch, Ferris, and Trinkle, are the ringleaders of breaking that promise to those people and putting a hotel, commercial venture on the opposite side now of Valley View Boulevard, on that old school property, in the neighborhood where the people live who were promised it would never happen.
Plus, instead of fixing up that school, they're going to tear that school down, dump, and then they have to spend more money to fix up another school, which is going to be overcrowded because they're having to jam two populations into one. So then what's going to happen about 5 years from now? Oh, we're going to need a new school built. I mean, the insanity of this is... And the fact that the Roanoke Times just blithely goes along with they don't question. I mean, this whole article about the whole downtown neighborhood dichotomy that they talk about is a completely false narrative. It's about wisely spending money or not, and the fact that the city's is almost $350 million in debt. And do you think that fact made it into the Roanoke Times editorial piece?
Of course not, because the Roanoke Times is not as honest as you and I, and they won't tell the residents of Roanoke that they actually have a bias and they have favored candidates, and they're trying to help them in their news reporting. They're not going to tell you that. The Roanoke Times is going to continue to pretend they're just an unbiased arbiter of the facts. No, they've chosen a side. It's obvious with what they print, and they need to admit it. And before you get the wrong idea, I'm fine with them having a bias. I am perfectly okay with them choosing sides. I am perfectly okay with them having a stake in what the outcome of the election is. What I'm not okay with is them pretending that they don't and lying to you when you read their paper and trying to make you believe that they don't have that bias. Because they do.
Getting offended.
Painfully obvious.
Editorials would never be biased on our reporting or how we deal with things in the paper. Oh my gosh, no.
Now, normally when we see something like that, we would have jumped up yesterday and been all over it on the radio. However, something interesting happened in this story, and it's not something that you normally see, especially in Roanoke City with respect to politics. You never see the conservatives or the Republicans fight back. You never. Let me read to you what the three Republican candidates had to say about this article. Roanoke City Council candidates Hank Vinson, Jim Garrett, and Roger Maloof reached the following statement concerning the editorial posted in the Roanoke Times regarding the city council race. Quote, "The editorial in the April 10th Roanoke Times concerning the Roanoke City Council race is a perfect example of having all the facts in front of you and drawing the wrong conclusions. The question is not whether there was a choice between downtown and the neighborhoods, but rather a choice between spending money wisely or foolishly. This election is not about downtown. It is about priorities. Detroit has a $1.3 billion museum built in its downtown with the same rationale that the Roanoke Times editorial board is using to defend the reckless spending in Roanoke. How did that work for Detroit? The board also fails to mention the nearly $350 million of current debt and the neglected stormwater issue that will inevitably add millions more to the city's obligations. These are facts the Times editorial board consistently ignores. As for the Huff Lane issue, it's not about the positives or the negatives of putting a hotel on school property. It's about the promise Roanoke City made to the Dorchester community and City Council's willingness to break that promise. The Times editorial board seems to be perfectly fine with the city breaking promises made to our citizens. Our Republican candidates are not, and that is why we need to change the culture of City Council on May 6th. Wow.
I like it.
I do too. And I don't normally say that. We still got to talk about the millions marching on Washington.
Yes.
Right after we remind you to vote on May 6th, and let's take out the trash on City Council. And the trash's name is Best Pitch Ferris Trinkle. I'm Greg. He's Chip. We'll be right back to talk about millions marching on Washington, and it's only a month away. Fox Radio 910.
News Guardians on Fox Radio 910.
Okay. So we've had back-to-back stories that get me riled up.
Well, this is another story that gets you riled up, and that's what's happened in a good way, and that has to do with Roanoke County getting rid of Ickley a couple weeks ago.
True. That was pretty spiffy. And why did that happen? It happened because us and a bunch of other people and tons of volunteers wasted enormous amounts of their personal time relentlessly fighting, going to the meetings, continuing to talk about it, not giving up. I mean, the productivity lost from all of these people's lives, from the work it took just to get rid of one tiny little UN-sponsored organization in Roanoke County is sickening. But that's the only way it's going to happen, people. So and here's the beauty of this, is that if it weren't just a small group of people working on it, if there was a large group of people working on it,
it would have happened a long time ago.
It would have happened a long time ago and would have taken all the people involved entirely less amount of their time. In fact, if 10,000 people had gotten involved for maybe 5 minutes, it would have been over with at the beginning. But instead, 5 to 10 people had to spend 10,000 minutes.
But there's and just so you know, the Ickley thing is really just it's the most public aspect of this, but it's not the biggest aspect of it, because if you go to the Roanoke County Comprehensive Plan, which you can read if you go to virginiagreenmenace.com, you can look and see the comprehensive plan and how they have plans for you. They have plans for you to...
Oh, yeah, they got plans for where you're going to live, how you're going to live, and how much you're going to have to pay for the privilege of living. It's all in the comprehensive plan.
And discourage certain actions. Again, I would ask you, is that really the role of government, to encourage behavior and discourage behavior?
Well, if you're talking about murder...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you're talking about, theft, yes. But if you're talking about what color the front door in your house is going to be, or whether or not you build a treehouse for your kids in the back, or how close your garage is to a property line, or how tall your grass is, no. It's not their job.
But it certainly looks that way if you look at the Roanoke Comprehensive Plan. So we're going to be talking about this over the next few weeks. And you can go to virginiagreenmenace.com and learn more about the comprehensive plan and how the Ickley battle is really just the iceberg of a much bigger issue.
And if you don't have the time, we understand that not everybody has the time to get as involved as the people that are involved that we work with. We understand that. So, as the chef would tell you, give a little. If you don't have the time to give some money. Because it's not free to fight these battles. And you can go to newsguardians.com, go to the donate page, click the donate button that's on the right, whatever, and donate to the cause.
And you should be able to get people to understand this. This isn't a UN conspiracy. This isn't something. It's in your Roanoke County Comprehensive Plan. You should have a problem with it. Read it yourself if you're a Roanoke County resident and start talking to Albert Drosian and the other board supervisor members to change that.
Oh, it's in the Roanoke City plan, too.
Oh, yes, in all the plans.
It's in all the plans all over. It doesn't matter. If you're within the sound of my voice, guess what? They've stuck this stuff in your comprehensive plan.
But everybody's like, oh, we got rid of Ickley. Woo! Okay, that's good. Now, on to the real meat of the potato, which is what's in the comprehensive plan.
VirginiaGreenMenace.com. Take a look. Now, before we have to go, because we just have a couple minutes left, we promised we were going to talk about the millions that are going to march on Washington in May. I don't know if you've heard about this. Have you heard about this, Chip?
I've heard about this.
Have you heard about this?
Yes.
It's called Operation American Spring. They've got a website. If you go to newsguardians.com, click the story there. We've got a link so you can check out their website. Go to newsguardians.com. And this is what they say their mission is: the restoration of constitutional government, rule of law, freedom, liberty of the people, by the people, for the people, from a despotic and tyrannical federal leadership. And they are asking truckers, bikers, veterans, old, young, every American that loves freedom to come to D.C. on May 16th. Do I have the date right?
I believe so.
Now, we don't know what's going to happen. And Chip and I have participated in a number of millions of people marching on Washington. And the one common thing that we know always happens is the media lies about who's there, why they're there, and how many are there.
So I have a story. I'll tell it briefly.
Let's do it.
So my wife and I were there at the first big march. It was like a
9/11.
Yeah,
9/12 or
whatever day it was in September. And we were up there marching around, and we were just amazed at the number of people. I mean, it was just the whole city was awash with patriots marching. So we hustled back to our hotel after we had a hotel in town, and we were kind of excited to watch the news and see what they said about it. And we were shocked. It was like tens of thousands of people showed up in Washington today.
Yeah, hundreds of tens of thousands.
Yes, it was millions. I mean, to shut the city down. Well, I was at a command center where I heard Washington police estimate there were over 1 million people in town. I mean, I heard that with my own ears from the Washington police, but according to tens of thousands.
Well, and that's why we want to go. We want to go because there needs to be one news source that is going to tell you exactly what's going on up there, that doesn't have a vested interest in the status quo.
Because this could be a scam. People. I've read articles saying that this is a terrible idea and it's just to hurt people.
We don't know what's going to happen, but what we do know is that we don't trust anybody else to tell us what happened. So we want to go. If you want us to be able to be the eyes, the ears, and the reporting mechanism right here on the radio that day, live, and on the website reporting, then you got to help us out. You need to sponsor us going to report on this thing. Go to the website, go to newsguardians.com, hit the donate button, and donate money to the cause so we can go up there. We're going to have to rent vehicles. We're going to have to get internet connection up there so that we can get onto the website and to the radio station. It ain't cheap to turn our radio show into a remote broadcast 350 miles away. So help a News Guardian out and donate to the cause so we can go tell you what's going on. And we're going to talk more about that over the coming weeks as we try to get this organized and get locally people and businesses involved so that you can find out exactly what's going on. So you won't turn on
CBS,
the cable news, and you won't tune in to ABC radio. You'll tune in right here or go to our website, and we're going to show you exactly what's going on straight from News Guardian Greg and News Guardian Chip.
We'll have a fantastic weekend.
I will. I'm going to the bistro this weekend. You know why?
Because everything's better on the mountain?
That's right. I'm Greg.
I'm Chip.
We'll see you on Monday.